Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for March Comes In Like a Lion, chapter 182. When we last left our heroes, we checked in on my boy, Harunobu Nikaido, as he was just not happy with the results of his game against Shigeta. It was just a very kind of forceful, I think kind of crass gameplay style that Harunobu did not really want to go to for the big debut of the Shimada study group in the official match. But Harunobu won, and he kind of tucks his feelings away. He doesn't want to be like a sore winner or something. And so he goes to his match with Kiriyama. But Kiriyama, as you will recall, loved that match. And so Kiriyama opens up with the exact same move that Shigeta did last time, pissing off Harunobu. So let's jump right on into Chapter 182, Path Part 1. I saw a little note on the Hiyomata Noboru website about how the Japanese version of the title is just Path in two different writing styles. So that's why it's Path, and then like in Swiggly's Path. But more interesting to me is that it's a new part 1, despite the fact that we should be like midway through the match, unless the last arc was just last chapter was kind of a resolution to the Shigeta Harunobu match, even though it technically started the Harunobu Kiriyama match. And now this arc, the Path arc, is directly about Kiriyama and Harunobu. Anyway, our cover picture is once again Nobidome on his run. Muscle exchange meeting. The exchange of information is an important part of the program too. And it's just 3 guys. I think one of them is Harunobu. Nobidome. Chatting about like workout tips. Anyway, we open with just this like kind of, I think, metaphorical light shining in the Shogi Association building. But everyone kind of senses it too. Huh? What was that? That light? Huh? Was it lightning? I'm not imagining it, right? There was definitely a super bright light in here, right? And we see like only Kiriyama and Harunobu aren't reacting to it. Cause like it's them. It's that sun image of Harunobu from last time. Anyway, Harunobu kind of like slaps his knee, breathes out, and kind of rubs his face down and reemerges as a picture of serenity, like sitting like, I think like the Buddha. I think is the direct cultural reference there, but I'm not exactly an expert in Buddhist imagery. So if I'm wrong about that, someone correct me, please. Anyway, one of the shogi players says, maybe it was just my imagination, but it seemed like a super bright light just came from Nikaido's direction? What are you talking about? A human can't just light up like that. Look, he's not glowing or anything right now, right? Was it lightning? Or maybe plasma? Everyone's just kind of gossiping at whatever the fuck is going on with Harunobu. It's a neat blending of Umino's love of kind of metaphorical imagery into the real world in a way that I haven't really seen her. I don't think she's really done in the past. No one normally comments, like, besides the characters experiencing this kind of metaphor. No other character will make comments on that imagery. If this were Fire Force, I'd have a lot to say about that. But that's not really what Umino is doing with this story. No meta here. But then I think that's the Shogi president. Kind of peeks into the room. What's all this ruckus? Pipe down. What are you, elementary school kids? And Harunobu is still just sitting there, like a graceful effect. Only little kids say stuff like lightning is scary. Huh? So it was lightning then? Yeah, just let the place up. Okay, so it was lightning or something. That doesn't particularly look like a cloudy day, but okay, whatever helps y'all. And then Harunobu makes his move, 8-4 Fu. As I kind of always say, I'm not familiar at all with the nitty-gritty of shogi to really kind of comment on the play-by-play of the match. Like I said in the past, the story works much better when it's shogi's on a metaphorical level, like this arc has kind of been doing mostly. So I don't know if 8-4 Fu is meant to be a rejection of Kiriyama's request to do the Central Hisha, or kind of accepting it. Anyway, Harunobu thinks, oh dear, the shock was so great I inadvertently started shining. I've clearly not tempered my mind enough. So Harunobu thinks that was a literal shine, but okay. And we see Kiriyama's like chewing on his nails, kind of fidgeting. And what are you doing over there with that face, Kiriyama? All that fidgeting. What are you, a grade schooler? Why is it that during these all-important matches, both you and Shigeta-san feel the need to dispatch off-the-wall super bold moves? Save it for the study group. Also, I heard all about what was going on with you. So you saw the match between Shigeta-san and me the other day, and were talking up a storm about it, were ya? So Harunobu was apparently aware that that Rei was really into that match he and Shigeta did. And at the end of a bunch of smiling, you said, I was moved or something? That's so creepy! Harunobu just like into him. What are you, some sort of devil child? Also, what? Oh, I'll probably play it out again on my own when I get home? I mean, really, how creepy can you get? And the result you got from all that analysis was 5'8" he? And then right after, and he makes another move, he's coming at me with that again? And Harunobu's eyes literally like bug out of his head. I shall not take the bait. And he does another move that's apparently not taking the bait. But Rei really wants that Central Hisha battle. Again? You sure are stubborn, Kiriyama. I'm pretty sure I can tell you're trying to lead me towards something, but you're being far too blatant about it, you mischievous child. The way you've been blowing me around this way and that. What are you, the North Wind from the fable, the North Wind and the Sun? Thank you, Harunobu, for just the niche references there. I do like, though, this image of Harunobu in, like, a cowboy hat and, like, a poncho sailing on a shogi piece as he's labeled the right path. And the clouds are also very clearly Kiriyama with the glasses. No matter how hard you try to invite me down the line you want, I've made up my mind to go down the path I've built up experience in. I haven't the slightest intention of shedding this traveler's cloak, Central Hisha, anytime soon. Alright, so we're gonna see... I mean, I've kind of figured that Rei would win this match. Especially if I'm right about this sort of being the build-up to the series end. With him facing Shimada, and then, what's the mage's name? Soya? Soya. Like, Rei's gonna win this, I think. Though I hope it lasts more than a chapter. But I'm expecting that, like, somehow Rei is gonna... Like, Harunobu thinks Rei is leading him one direction, but it's also in greater trap. Anyway, I'm just hoping that reveal does not show up this chapter, because we deserve all the Harunobu content in the world. Anyway, Harunobu continues thinking, 6'8" Gin? You're still coming at me with that? You don't have any need to show off how unconventional you are, right? What is this? You got a girlfriend, right? Calm down a little. Does Harunobu know that, or is he just sort of assuming? They're like, that's why he's acting so different. Has that gotten you overexcited or something? I'm hoping he knows. I hope he and Rei are in constant enough contact that Rei would have told him that if he and Hina aren't like 100% official, they're basically official. Anyway, and Rei looks like he's like holding back laughter. Seriously, what's with that face? You look like an excited elementary school kid. And Harunobu kind of flashes back to Rei as a child, just sitting there like placidly. Speaking of which, weren't you way more subdued back when you actually were in elementary school? You should apologize to your elementary school self for how you're acting now. But then Harunobu... So we kind of... There's a distinct change in the style of the pages from 7 to 8. As Harunobu goes from his kind of, stressed facial expressions and text, like, cluttering the page, to a panel of Harunobu completely silent, and then below the panel, I've always been worried about it. And then he looks up at Rei, that a time would come where you got yourself a significant other, and shogi was no longer the only thing that occupied your mind. And he pictures Rei and Hina together, that you'd change, that dazzling, glaring, shadow-like shine might fade. And Harunobu pictures, we see, he has this image of Rei and like a scarf in front of a torii gate with like the snow blowing behind him. And then an image of Harunobu alone, still in that poncho at the cliff's edge. And that I lose the greatest comrade of my adventure. To be continued. Okay. I think this chapter was really funny. The first 7 pages, or I guess 5 or 6 if you don't count the title page, are just really funny. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun going on there. As just Harunobu just does not want to deal with any of he does not want a repeat of the Shigeta match. He wants something a bit more refined and noble, and he talks about something about Rei. You don't have any need to show off how unconventional you are, right? But in the end, as we kind of saw last chapter, Harunobu, the reason he's upset about this is because he wants to show off to the shogi world at large. Admittedly, not just for himself, but for his entire study group. To show the great people raised up under Shimada's care. But, there's definitely a bit of Harunobu is the one who wants to show off here. We're not really in Rei's headspace enough this chapter to know exactly what he's thinking. We can kind of assume because we spent 180 chapters mostly in Rei's headspace. But we don't exactly know. But I think the really interesting thing here is these last 2 pages. As Harunobu kind of mourns that as Rei has, focused on his outside shogi life, explicitly kind of characterizing having a girlfriend, that kind of would lose, that is a detriment to Harunobu's advance. And I want to kind of explore that in the lens of Harunobu, or in lens of Rei, how Rei's living with the Kawamotos has sort of helped him. I don't know if get over his depression is a okay word choice. I don't know enough about how depression works to know if you ever get over it or cure yourself of it. But at least manage his depression much better than he was at the beginning of the series. He's a much more active protagonist than he was in the past. He's much, his mental health is just objectively better now than it was back in chapter 1. And the fact that Harunobu mourns that, I'm curious where Umino is kind of going with that. Because it could be, a slight mourning for the person that, while Harunobu, outside of the match, is happy that Rei is getting better, there's a part of him, especially when they're playing, that mourns the fact his great rival is perhaps, without his single focus on shogi, is perhaps not as good in Harunobu's mind, which is an objectively incredibly unhealthy perspective to have. And I don't think that Umino herself is sort of positing it, but I do think Harunobu might be. And a move that might put Harunobu in a much more antagonistic perspective than he's been maybe ever. I don't know. We'll kind of have to see where Umino goes with this. There's no... I was on the Hiyomata Noboru website. They have not stated when the next chapter is supposed to come out. So I got no idea when we'll be back with this storyline. But I'm excited. I'm very curious to see where Umino is going with, especially those last 2 pages. The way the comedy drops away, the way the inner monologue style changes. It's no longer on the panel. It's like it does that black border between the panel thing. I don't know. I want to see the storyline play out. But until then, I ain't got much else to say, so I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes it happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!